We do grain farming, wheat in wintertime, sorghum in summertime, and we have about 400 beef cattle as well to eat the failed crops mainly. We live about 18 kilometres from a town called Emerald, which is on the almost on the Tropic of Capricorn, which is about almost 300 kilometres west of Rockhampton, on the east coast of Australia in the state of Queensland. It was developed probably after the Great Depression in the 30s, I think. I remember my dad telling me, because he was born in 1901, so he sort of saw the whole thing, and he said it was developed to promote orderly marketing of wheat. The larger buyers or traders of wheat were not treating the farmers all that well, and the prices that one got for wheat used to vary considerably over the course of a harvest, because when the immediate concerns were met, the price used to drop. Like when enough tonnage was harvested to satisfy demand, then the price used to drop by a huge margin, and the wheat board was developed to even out that problem and also to facilitate the export of wheat. It worked well until the free marketers got to hold the reins in Australia, and for a long time we had a guaranteed minimum price, so that meant that there was a floor in the wheat market to where you could budget for what you at least anticipated to get the next year. That was done away with in 1990, and of course the next year the wheat price that we received halved, so they must have had some foreknowledge of that. But all in all it worked okay, but there were growers that wanted to sell to end users. There were some larger growers that wanted to export directly to end users, and with all the lobbying with the free marketers in the control in Canberra, the wheat board basically gradually lost control of the whole situation to where we end up today, where it's basically dead and gone. It was privatised or corporatised or whatever terminology works. About 20% of the wheat board, the AWB shares are still owned by farmers, and the remainder are owned by well, anybody really. The AWB lost its exclusive rights to export wheat about 2 years ago, which is the single desk, and from losing the single desk 2 years ago to the complete dissolution of the company has been, it's been 2 years. So just be careful of giving away your single desk over there in Canada, because that's really you're on the home straight to winding your whole CWB up once that happens. In the last month or two, there's been talk of the AWB being sold, first of all by an Australian company, Grain Corp, and at the moment it's Atrium, a Canadian company, and they're offering $1.50 a share, which is a long way down from $4, but a whole lot better than 90 cents. See, one of the things that the single desk did was it helped to put a floor in the price. It didn't actually do it, but it meant that anyone who wanted to buy wheat in other countries had to come to the same people to buy it. So they were able to control the price that was acceptable to those countries, and at times they were more effective than others, but now it's basically every farmer in Australia competing against every other farmer. Well, single desk means that you have better bargaining power with countries or multinational companies overseas to export your wheat. Now, in Australia, 80% of our wheat crop is exported. I don't know what the percentage is in Canada, but I imagine it would be probably somewhat similar. And so that you're really at the beck and call of those overseas companies. So if you can present a united face to everyone overseas that you export wheat to, you can hold out for a price, or you can fine-tune the markets, the quality of wheat that goes into this market or that market, and you can guarantee continuity of supply and also of quality of the wheat. And it all comes back to a single desk. But when you are exporting to a multitude of different people, or from a multitude of different people and organisations, it's totally uncoordinated. It's like the jungle out there, and you'll find that all these companies will be competing against each other. They don't have any forward thinking to the next year or season or two. Everything is basically back to the current sale. They don't care what happens next year. They just want to make a sale now. And if they sell something of low quality, or they're not thinking about whether they can cultivate that market to provide sell into that market year after year, then they become unreliable, and of course that they lose credibility with the overseas buyers, and there's no premium that you could ask for your wheat if you could guarantee, supply and quality and things like that. When you're competing against the guy over your back fence, rather than competing with farmers in, Argentina or something like that, that gets a bit cruel, I think. There was a survey done, and it was somewhere around between 80 and 90% of growers were in support of the single desk, and there were farmers that were leaving their farms to go to Canberra to demonstrate in front of Parliament House there in Canberra to that effect. That, of course, achieved absolutely nothing, except no work got done on the farms for a few days. It's totally over. It's dead and buried. There's no mechanism there that we could resuscitate the single desk at this stage. Once it's gone, it's gone. My answer to them would be lots of luck. There is nothing more difficult than selling grain to a trader that spends his whole life sitting in front of a computer screen selling millions of tonnes of grain, when 2 or 3 times a year you try and do the same thing and compete with him. Selling grain is not an easy thing to do. I mean, at the moment I've got 130 tonnes of sorghum that I need to sell. The market's not very good, but it's better than it was. At the moment it's slipped a bit, so should I wait until it goes up, or should I sell now before it slips more? A lot of these farmers, they say that they can get better prices by themselves. They probably can, because if you've got a tradable quantity of grain, you can go and cherry pick a market somewhere else rather than go through the system and get that profit for yourself. But what do you do with your lower quality grain? You put that in the system and let all the other farmers try and help you take care of that. So basically they're being a bit selfish. Small growers in particular have to try and stick together. The bigger growers can go it alone, but you'll find that when the going gets tough with them, they're quite happy to go back in the mob, if the mob's still there. So my advice to the younger, bigger farmers that think that they can sell their own grain is lots of luck, be careful. Oh, I would say think very long and hard before you went anywhere even close to getting rid of the single desk. In Australia, the single desk in 2007, it was considered to be worth between $15 and $30 a tonne to Australian wheat farmers. Now, at current prices, that's 10 to 15% of our price, and the prices being as low as what they are, that could make a difference between staying viable or not. Even compromise deals that would end up leading in that general direction need to be avoided. So political lobbying is very important. you need to talk to the politicians that have this as their portfolio to explain that if orderly marketing doesn't exist, and if you get mass bankruptcies of farmers, that's not going to be a very good thing for the rest of Canada. If all the farmers went broke, then there would be hungry people in a lot more countries than just Canada. All the towns, the country towns, get less and less people and less voting capacity, and eventually, who knows where it'll end up. You're going to have to be serious about fighting it. I think it's worth fighting for. You really need to make a stand and think through all the propositions that are offered. Have to use your imagination to think, okay, where's this going to go? What would be what's their angle here? Because there probably will be an angle. I can nearly guarantee there'll be an angle, and the angle will basically be to do away with the Canadian Wheat Board, and so that the multinational companies get to have all the say in what happens to the Canadian crop.